I'm very humbly honored to be the vehicle, the portal for Bioneers for Bozeman in this region. I look very forward to the future as it grows. We as providers of Bioneers Conference are proud to offer you a chance to witness the lives and work of amazing people, both local and global. The Bioneers are biological pioneers who are working with nature to heal nature, reducing the human footprint, honoring native wisdom, and restoring the earth by changing the world. The founders of Bioneers, who you will digitally meet today, have a saying: it's all alive, it's all connected, it's all intelligent, it's all relatives. What does that really mean, and who are Bioneers? Throughout this weekend, you will be introduced to the ideas of this growing movement and community that aligns itself with the values of the natural world: kinship, diversity, interdependence, and cooperation. My name is Sam Porter. I'll be your host for the weekend, and if you need anything, feel free to ask any of the folks. We had a great turnout. We had almost 45 volunteers yesterday show up to support this conference. That's a lot of people power, so I thank them.
Thank you very much, Sam. Thank you all attendees and those who are sharing knowledge over the 3 days of the Bioneers Conference. Thank you for choosing the city of Bozeman as a location for the first Northern Bioneers Conference. We're very happy to have the conference here. So I'm very glad to be here. I'm glad to be at the Bioneers Conference because it strikes me as sort of a gateway to a better future. We're standing here in the present day, but we're also, I think, standing in the shadow of the past. And I say this in sort of an unfortunate tone of voice because I think that the past is shadowing over our daily existence. And it's the past of fear, and it's a past of some amount of aggression, and it's a past of business as usual. And the Bioneers Conference strikes me as a gateway to a possible improvement and a better future. And so again, I'm reminded of Liz Grenier, I'm reminded of the people who are coming up, and I'm reminded of the positive spirit that they exemplify. And what that means to me is an enormous sense of hope, that the shadow cast by the past can be eclipsed by some of these bright folks who are coming up, and they're going to lead us to a more positive kind of future. And in general, I guess that's how I see Bioneers, as a place for us to discuss more positive forms for the future, forms of organizing and sharing our resources, our government, our use of energy, our views on technology, health, and the very human spirit. If I could participate in Bioneers, I would like to hope that maybe we can use this time to become masters, but not of the earth, and to become masters, but not of each other, but maybe to become masters of ourselves in the humblest of senses, where we could find a way to harmonize our inner human nature with the nature of things outside us, so that as we go forward, we can live in an integrated way that is beneficial.
People keep saying youth are our future, and though it's so very cliche, I'm inclined to agree and be proud to be part of that future. Even more, however, I'm proud to be part of our present, working now towards making the future that I'm going to have to live with, a desirable place to exist. I got involved with Bioneers a couple months ago, and I've already learned so much, and the conference hasn't even started. More, I'm educated and inspired by the amazing people who chose to get involved in putting this conference on at a base level and build it up from there. Their vision and commitment is what brought us here, all together to discuss a plan of action for saving the world. What could be more exciting than that?
hear Scott say something.
We're here meeting on different effects of the planet. We are hoping to preserve it for all time.
Hello, I'm here again with Jonas Grenz. I even did well on his name. Hi, Jonas.
How you doing?
Good.
Good.
Are you enjoying your experience here this weekend so far?
Absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
overwhelmed by it even. Yeah.
Yeah. So what brought you to Bioneers? First, sorry, are you local?
Yes.
You're local.
Yep, very much so. Born and raised in Montana. Lived in Bozeman for about 8 years now.
Okay, and what brought you to the Bioneers conference?
Trying to save the world more than anything. Just got a passion for trying to leave this place better than I found it, pretty much.
So what are your interests?
I have an engineering degree, so I want to do sustainable stuff for the future. I believe it's going to be a networking, communication, collaboration of many forms of sustainable practices, I would say.
So is that happening here in Bozeman now?
Absolutely. The Bioneers Conference is amazing. Not only here, but in 12 other places in North America. It's one of the biggest environmental movements in North America. It is the biggest in North America.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty honorable to even to be a part of it.
Yeah. So did you come to see any particular workshops or plenary speakers, or just it all in general? Did some?
Well, the workshops like fuel cells, that kind of stuff, winds. I was definitely been interested in that, but I wanted to see it all and just meet people that are interested in this kind of thing and see what's going on in Bozeman for it.
So were there some speakers, panels that impressed you more than others? And in other words, what we're trying to get at is how can we make this bigger? How can we interest a much wider, audience?
I don't know that not that you couldn't do it. It's like it's so amazing. Anybody should come take in the amount of information here. There's something for everybody. And I wouldn't say that. I'd say I'd have interest in some of the some speakers and workshops more than other ones, but they've all been a plethora of information. It's been amazing. Yeah, it's a big movement. I think there's a conscious shift going on in the world. I think people have been lied to long enough and taken advantage of, and there's a lot of honest, hardworking people out there still that are starting to rise up and reclaim what this country's all about. Be true Americans and true humans even. Human rights as opposed to just democratic rights. I think it's starting to surface again.
Cool.
It's cool. It's awesome to be a part of it. I'm stoked.
Thanks.
What moves me the most about getting to participate in a conference such as this Bioneers conference is that it's about working together. What I am so moved by is when we're working together. We're all coming together in this joint vision of educating ourselves and promoting the steps towards solution, towards creating peace on earth. What I'm very moved in this conference that it has a good, healthy balance of speaking about the facts and figures of the devastating reality of the non-sustainable, hateful policies going on in this nation and around the world, whether it's globalization of the economy, these sorts of things. But I'm here in the middle of a bunch of people that are nuts and bolts putting together the alternative. That it's not new age, it's ancient sustainability, knowing that everything is connected. It's an inclusive spirituality and politics and economy and family, and all of it is not looked at as separate pieces. When I'm here in this conference, you see we're working together in a holistic way, and I love seeing it. I just so love to be part of this movement.
So what interests you about the whole concept of Bioneers? And
basically
they're hyper aware. The people who are intimately involved with, that are Bioneers, they're hyper aware of the fact that we need to be paying attention to how we live, and how others live and treat the planet. Folks like the Bioneers, their direct attention to the fact that this is unsustainable, that we cannot continue living like this for the next 50 years and 150 years, and that's where I have a deeper appreciation and a deeper respect for the issues that they're bringing up, and the call to get involved. They are waking people up, but I think that the turning point has yet to happen, and that's what a conference like this weekend's Bioneers is all about. Is to just start getting the word out so that we approach a critical mass of people.
I'm standing here right now with
Tessa Mokel.
Tessa Mokel, and she's a volunteer at the Bioneers conference this weekend in Bozeman. What do you do in the community? Are you local? And
I am. I go to the Bozeman High School with Liz, and we're the youth coordinators for the conference. And I'm involved in a lot of community work. I really think it's important for people to get involved, and especially in something like this. The Bioneers conference is so amazing. You need to learn and be informed in order to get involved. And if you ignore things, they're not going to just go. They're just going to go away. You aren't going to be able to. If there's something that you feel strongly about, I think that you should get involved in it.
so is that why you got involved in?
Yeah, I got involved because I really feel strong about the environment, and if I have children, I want their children to be able to see what I see. Bozeman especially is so beautiful.
So are you jazzed?
I'm very jazzed.
Yeah?
I'm so excited. It's been a great day, and yesterday was really cool, and I can't wait for the recycling program tomorrow. The forum's going to be awesome.
The title of this forum is Reality, Hope, and Action. And if we all realize that we have the power to make a difference, it's really about keeping that mindset and sharing it with others and setting an example and being a squeaky wheel. It's empowering to know that you're making a difference. And I think if we get that word out to the general community, especially to kids.
It just seems like a great range of topics, like
yeah. So
all
there's
kind of local.
There's workshops on agriculture, fuel cells, alternative energy resources.
Like predator conservation and wildlands,
and living with predators, and I'm trying to think of all the others. Eco-medicine.
What kinds of people do you think will be coming here?
Attending? I think a lot of them will be people who are already in these maybe nonprofit organizations or land conservancies or water rights. That's another big issue that we're focusing on this weekend.
And farmers from the area?
Farmers, yeah, that's a huge topic too. Agriculture, GMOs.
And teachers?
Teachers and youth. Indigenous cultures. We've been focusing on that a lot. Hopefully there will be a good amount of people that are just interested and want to learn.
Great.
And that's what it's about. It's not pro or con anything. It's just education.
Great. Well, thanks. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
At the root of our work is listening to communities, fostering community-driven projects that really help build youth leadership and community leadership around water resources. But a big piece of our whole project is integrating science and culture and doing it in ways that help young people understand who they are. It helps them connect with their traditions and connects with traditional ways of knowing. Because we're all indigenous to a place. We all have cultural traditions. We all have agreements with each other. We all have spiritual values. And values, as that was said this morning, come from individuals and community. And finding those and tapping into those and then working with them in a subject like science that's really designed to discover truth, and using different ways of knowing to add to that understanding of what truth is, and then finding meaning. We can start to say, these are all the tools we have to make a difference. And by using all the different ways of knowing, we're able to start looking at really challenging multidimensional issues like water, and hopefully inspiring people to care, and hopefully working towards solutions that are community-based, culturally based, and scientifically based. And none have to be mutually exclusive of the other.
There's all kinds of models of healing out there. And within herbal medicine, there's all kinds of models. There's traditional Chinese medicine. There's traditional Ayurvedic medicine from India. There's Western herbal medicine. There are many, many of these models. So I'm a very stout believer in traditional medicine, and what I mean about that is that traditional herbalists believe that there is a vital force. The vital force is a concept that goes way back to Paracelsus. Paracelsus believed in the vital force. Paracelsus is the father of medicine, the father of toxicology, the father of, I think, surgery.
What this gets to is, the other question that, at least for me, gets focused by this whole discussion of genetic engineering is not so much genetic engineering. That's certainly a big piece of it, but it's just two diametrically opposed ways of looking at agriculture. I mean, you got the people, genetic engineering is an extension of 50 years of industrialization of agriculture, where we try to force one big crop, one big solution on everybody, so that you grow the same corn in Iowa that you grow in Mexico, that you grow in Africa, and that you make big monocultures of this. And not coincidentally, some big companies get to control all the seed for the big monocultures. But there's a system of, I don't know what you call it, of systematically removing diversity from the system. That one size fits all. Right. We've done that with agriculture, and the problem of hunger in the world is we've done it with economics and social systems, that there's one economic model that's going to fit the whole world. And that combination is what's really creating the poverty that leaves people hungry. The other alternative model to this, and where all the alternatives fit, is a framework that says, agriculture and social economic systems that go with it need to be diverse and they need to be local. And there's two really different models going on here. And they are not compatible in any way, shape, or form. And this is where it's a social and economic issue, not a biology issue. That we need in economics as if people mattered, if I can paraphrase this.
And in agriculture as if
farmers mattered.
Life mattered.
Yeah, and you can get there. The alternative here is you've got an industrial model of agriculture. And the alternative is, there's various buzzwords here, but it's a knowledge-based agriculture that's local and diverse. And you get there by understanding the system, the biology of what's going on that makes it function. But it can't be separate from the community that it's in. Industrial agriculture, you've got investors who live in boardrooms and labor. In real agriculture, you have farmers who have ownership in the land that they work, as opposed to picking tomatoes off a land owned by some corporation. And you have farmers who are invested in their own community. And that's where we're heading. I mean, that's the different models here. And whether this is in Brazil or Montana, part of it is just your own common sense.
I would suggest that the reason that there is at least one person in organics now in the Department of Agriculture is because more and more American consumers are choosing to shop in natural food stores and buy natural and organic food. And we did some research on the grocery market and found that the grocery industry is basically stagnant or declining, and the only place that it is growing is in the natural foods industry. And the natural foods industry is growing by 20% a year, and within the natural food industry is the organic industry, and it's growing by 20 to 25% a year. And I think it's because we have immediate ability to express our power in our consumers' choices, that is what's starting to shift a bit the political arena. And so I would urge all of you to really know that you can begin immediately. You don't have to wait to convince your legislator or your congressman to make changes at a policy level in order to have an impact. You can start changing the way you behave right now, today, that will lead to those changes on governmental policy.
Let me tell you about a reward I got one time, and it's kind of you folks that can do this for a poor old grain farmer. Now, if you're like Josh and you're raising vegetables, you get this experience all the time, and that's customer appreciation. Because we never meet our customers as grain farmers. We never meet the end user. And I was at a food show one time in California, and this lady came up to me and just shook my hand just like this real hard, and she says, "Oh, thank you for growing food for my family." And I had never, ever been thanked for growing food for someone's family before. And it was an enormous high for me. It was better than money in the bank. It was a thank you. It changed my whole attitude about what I was doing on my farm. Most large grain farmers do not look at those fields of wheat as food for someone's family. We have been taught to think of grain as a commodity, and it's the most disservice you can do to food to think of it as a commodity. It's much, much more than that, but yet as a commodity you don't feel bad about dousing it with all kinds of who knows what out of a can to kill bugs and weeds and every other thing. You don't think about other handling procedures that may be suspect. But when you think about it as a food that someone's going to eat, that changes your attitude, and to feel appreciated for that also is something that every farmer really feel good about. So that's a little payment I received.
I think every school should have a garden. Every school should have a garden. Every school should be producing some of the food that they eat. And then kids grow that food. They're really going to be excited about eating it. And they're going to be aware that it came from somewhere. Then when they go to the grocery store, they'll ask where it came from. My kids live this horrible, sheltered, isolated existence in our farm. Don't know much about the world. But a few times we go out to dinner. There's a salad. My 3-year-old daughter always says, "Mom, is this your lettuce or did Lucy grow it?" I don't know. In her world, Kim and Lucy grow all the lettuce. But it's really great that she asked that question, and all kids should ask that question. Where did this food come from? So if they start growing some of it, they'll be aware that it came from somewhere. And if people start asking in every grocery store, where did this come from? The people who buy it, who supply it and buy it for the stores, will start having to come up with good answers. Where we buy it from here and there. Now, obviously, these are big challenges in places with not much population and short growing seasons. But as great farmer Steve Elliott says, we're a smart bunch of monkeys. If we decide that this is what we want to do, we can do it. We pretty much, as a species, been really successful at everything we've collectively decided we wanted to do. And if we collectively decide that we want to grow our own food and be more sustainable and treat the earth better, it's not that hard. We can do it.
Predator ecosystem protection. It's a Predator Conservation Alliance table. Preserve the Northern Rockies.
I'd like to get back to her question of what should she tell her students. And there's two things. Number one, I think that teaching people what is science and being able to discriminate between good science and bad science will go a long ways. It's instead of giving them a fish, you teach them how to fish. 2% of the medical literature is only 2% is based on scientific method. The rest of it is really not that good in terms of being able to trust it. And that should tell us something, that a lot of science out there is not very good science. So then we have to be able to discriminate, be able to realize what good science is. And you have to realize that science is limited. Science can only hypothesize. It does not prove anything. It only gives you a certain weight of evidence. And so that's one thing you can do. The other thing is there are some wonderful authors, and I don't know if you've mentioned this already. One of them, I'm trying to remember his first name, but his last name is Altieri, A-L-T-I-E-R-I.
Miguel.
Yeah, Miguel. Okay. And he has some wonderful papers on agroecology. And so if you go to PubMed, and have the students do this, go to PubMed and put in the word agroecology and search on those and give them those papers. They might be a little bit over their head, but hey, what can they figure out? And then help them to read those papers and help them to decipher what these papers are saying. Also, the other thing is in traditional medicine, we have the same problem with herbal medicine, and that is who do we trust? So number one, we trust good science, not bad science. And the second form of information we trust is traditional medicine that's been used for hundreds of thousands of years. And so we look at that and we say, hey, if it has been used for 2,000 years, there must be something to it. So those are the two things. In the 40s and 30s and 40s, I can't remember exactly what the 40s are in there, there was a man that came over here anyway, he told us, did a, a talk several years ago from England about how our government consciously made a decision in, I think it was the 30s and 40s, to pay the farmers to do the chemicals and not to pay them to put the nutrition back in the soil, which is the key of what is missing. Because plants cannot be a nutritious plant grown out of soil that has no nutrition. And if you've got food that is nutritious, it doesn't take such a grand quantity, and you can feed a whole lot more people. I'm not degrading the other, but it's just that we haven't got there yet. But this part, if we clean up a little bit of it along the way, and there are two different sources I know of people just in this valley, you can put nutrition back in the soil naturally, and it takes care of some of the toxin factors, and clean up some of the mess that we've got just sitting around us, and have very healthy food and not need chemical bushels.
This discussion does boil down to agriculture and the socioeconomic impacts of
Yeah, it's an
agriculture.
economic
How are we going
issue.
to dress it up with starvation or nutrients or whatever? There's classical breeding, and every plant, whether it's the corn or whatever, is a product of classical breeding. If I showed you a corn from South America, you would not believe that it was corn.
Yeah,
native corn.
teach
the
them
redness
to
of
go
the
ahead
modern-
about that, yeah.
It took thousands and thousands of years to classically breed modern corn from what that was. we're looking at, we're using a different selective force now with genetic engineering as opposed to the classic, or the, what's come to be, Mendelian breeding principles. The whole problem is the agriculture that we produced. It's low in nutrients, it's low in food value, it's low in vitamin A. You had to give that up to produce a bigger seed, to produce lots of bigger seeds. The food's empty. We want to put value back in the food by genetically engineering it, and we took it out classically.
But I want to add in the back.
I think that part of it is sort of like the Star Trek thing, go out and find new worlds, and if we can do it, we should do it. I think that's an extremely dangerous thought, because my dad was an engineer, and he had some ideas for the Mission Valley that I would have been fighting him all the way if it had dawned on me what it was he was doing. Oh, we can do it because we can do it, or we should do it because we can do it. And I think that mentality is underlying a lot of this. And it's sort of like, if the mountain is there, then we should climb it.
Conquer all the time.
And so maybe it's knowledge-based, but it's the idea that, and that's where technology has completely outdistanced any kind of ethic that we can develop. As the technology is developing, we haven't developed the ethic that goes with it.
Hi. You folks enjoying the conference?
Yeah, I didn't know any of the stuff they're telling us.
Yeah?
It should be on the news more. Amazing, some of the best speakers in the nation. And they say that the average American only knows 2 out of 10 questions about ecology right. They only answer them right.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of this important stuff about our planet.
One of the reasons for holding this conference was to help other places that were sort of going through the same things that Montana went through, a long time ago, like other places where there are still nomadic cultures.
I think this is really exciting because I think when I hear about your system, whatever it is, first of all, it's systemic thinking, and that says something to me about the personal, people doing what they want. I understand that. But their systems keep us from doing what we want. And that's, I think, what you're talking about in terms of the contentment thing. That sometimes, I guess I'm thinking of that because I'm a therapist, and in my office, I see too often people who have, quotes, everything they want, and they don't know why they're not happy. So I think we have to raise this whole discussion to a systemic level, to do some systems thinking on it, to be able to see the interactions of all these things. And I think what's happened is over the industrialization years, there's been a distillation of life, what I would call the fullness of life, in a highly industrialized society. And what I see this is an expansion, an opening up of all the possibilities, so that we can now take a look at the psychic dimensions, and some of the other social dimensions that have been distilled out as we in the Western, and I mean Western in terms of since Newton's time, in the Western world of science, have lost so much of the fullness in life that someone in Mongolia really understands, even if they don't have some of the technological advances. So I look on what you're doing as like an expansion or a returning home to the fullness of life, and that's really exciting, I think. The second thing that I noticed that I wanted to comment on was I've done lots of group work with people in terms of satisfaction and contentment and all that kind of psychological stuff. But what you're including and naming, and I think raising to a real important level on a university level, that's what has me so excited, is because I've always done this in my therapy, and it's exciting what happens, but you're introducing place, a sense of place. I mean, the ecosystem where we are into the equation.
Party?
This actually comes back to something that you were talking about before, about how we could do things differently, or what is it about our state that makes the problems worse. And one of those is the very wide gap between western Montana and eastern Montana. And you know, when you talk about low population areas and how they don't get the services like for children, and also bioregionalism. In the West, we are such a different bioregion than eastern Montana. Schweitzer made the comment that people in eastern Montana don't even know who their legislators are because they listen to North Dakota or South Dakota news. And this is an awfully big question, but how could we divide into more compatible bioregions that can then solve their problems, their common problems?
It was really just a comment. Wow, what an effect. It was really just a comment. And then I'm always disappointed at being regarded as a consumer, or all of us being regarded as consumers. I think that the term is a very disrespectful term to start with. But a person who is a consumer is one who uses something up and throws it away and is hardly even connected with what it is he's using. And the word consumer is in itself a very divisive term. It divides us and our own well-being and our own use from the effects that we create by using something and throwing it away from others.
Other questions?
Yes, hello.
Go ahead.
My name is Erica Miller, and my background is in chemical engineering, biochemistry, and soil science. And I've also worked a bit of time as an engineer and out working, and spent some time in academia. And what I'd really like to do now is have a farm. But I don't have a farm in my family. I don't really have any money. So my question to you is, how can someone who really wants to work with the land get involved with that? And then I also have a comment too, that I'll just say. I spent some time doing research on weed resistance to herbicides, so I became familiar a little bit with these chemical companies and how they do things and their chemical representatives. And some of these things that are going on, you just ask yourself, how can this be happening? Why do people buy into this stuff? And it seems to me, and I don't know if you want to comment on this too, but there's chemical representatives that go farm to farm. There's people out there, Monsanto has a huge workforce, and there's these people that are on a payroll that get a lot of money to push their product, whereas our ideas aren't as flashy. We don't have a big marketing force necessarily, or yet, that goes out and really sways that public opinion yet. And I don't know if you want to comment on that too.
That's neat what you're doing, by the way. Here's a recycling table. Recycle. Even in Montana. Let's improve recycling.
Hi, I'd just like to make a quick comment about the idealistic notions that people will often tell us that we have. I've had a lot of people tell me that, oh, your ideas, they're idealistic, you're ridiculous, your head's in the clouds. But I think we can't visualize what we really want. how are we going to get there? It makes it so much harder. So you bring up a really good point about being able to visualize a world like that, because you've got to start somewhere.
You know, I think that holding it in our consciousness, the more I study quantum physics, the more I come to realize that really consciousness is the fundamental building block of the universe. It's not about matter. Matter doesn't exist. Matter is energy. You break it down far enough, it's all energy. And consciousness affects energy in very profound and powerful ways. And when people, as individuals or as groups, align their consciousness, that's one of the things I love about the Bioneers, is it is an alignment. It is an alignment coming from many, many different directions, but this alignment creates an incredibly powerful movement in the universe. And scientifically demonstrated that consciousness affects the outcome. So thank you for your remark.
Hi, my name is Chris Foiker. I'm a senior at FSU. Ecology and evolution is my degree. So my question is going to address the broader kind of political economic structures that we are embedded within. Cliff, you know, you talked about it and said, you know, sustainability goes much beyond just biology, it's politics also. And I think a lot of the solutions that we're talking about does give it that, you know, it does address how we, you know, what you just said, Cliff, you know, we need to take control of the systems. And so, you know, my basic question is, how are we going to do that, you know? Because I think, you know, the systems that we're embedded within right now are inherently unsustainable. The way power is distributed, the way, you know, the economic relationships between countries, between people, the scales that we're working with, I think it's inherently unsustainable. So my question would be, if you, this is to all of you, I mean, if you could outline an alternative, you know, and we have been doing that slowly throughout this conference, but if you could outline, you know, an alternative, you know, system, an alternative structure, and then not only outline it, but also how could we move towards that? What ways can we, you know, besides the things that we're talking about here, which I think oftentimes are just marginalizing that lifestyle, you know, just kind of pushing it to the margins, you know. What ways can we take control of that system and make it the way that we want it? That's my question.
I'm going to say one small thing. That's a really hard question when you have to answer me. Last week, I heard Jack Kloppenberg, a rural sociologist from Wisconsin, come talking in Missoula. It was really inspiring. One of the things he said was, he mentioned something about those bumper stickers, think locally, act globally, think locally, act locally, all that kind of stuff. So what we do on a local level, what we should be doing, are creating relationships that we would wish to see mimicked out farther and beyond our locale. So when we are acting locally, we're acting globally. So start, it's kind of hokey and corny, but this does work. Create the kinds of relationships around food. Food is the first easy one because it connects all of us. Right in your life. And if it's working, if you're smiling, other people are going to mimic that. She talked about the early adopters and all that. Create relationships locally that we'd like to see mimicked globally. And that's a small start. I don't know any other way to chip away at the giant system. One other little thing has come to mind, and it'll be done. A long time ago, when I was in regular undergraduate school, I read an essay by this guy, Adam Michnik. I think he was from Poland, and this was before the wall had fallen and when Poland was still under the arm of the former Soviet Union. And this fellow, Adam Michnik, was a playwright, and he and some other dissidents had been angry about the lack of free speech and expression, and they were really angry, and things weren't going right. And then they decided one day that they were just going to start living as if things were the way they wished they were. And as soon as they did that, it was like the sun came out. And lo and behold, it caught on. And then Prague fell, and the wall fell, and all sorts of other things happened. And these guys didn't start it, but there were a whole bunch of other co-developments that happened. But if you, right now, start living as if things were the way you wish they were, they would become that way for you right now.
Fair trade, not free trade. Peace.
We're all interested in contentment. And if we have ways to find contentment through the daily practice of whatever it is we might be doing, we'll be happy. And a lot of the perceived difficulties these days are because many of us feel some unease about our relationship with things ecological and things social and things economic. And that if we all can work on simple ways to find contentment and happiness, that's a big start.
I want to leave you with my own sense that deep down we're getting better at this. And I think that this conference is an example of people who are committed to getting better at this. So I want to thank you for that commitment. And
We are being called by the deep intelligence of creation to accept responsibility for the consequences of our presence on this planet. A responsibility not only for the well-being of one another, but for the planet as a whole. Each of us, I think, needs to stop and ask ourselves, what does the best part of me, my highest self, want? And how can I help make that happen? We're at a fork in the road. We have two worldviews. In 1543, Polish astronomer Nicholas Copernicus published a paper entitled On the Evolutions of the Celestial Spheres, in which he challenged the view that the sun revolved around the earth, arguing instead that the earth revolved around the sun. His alternative to the widely held other model, which had the earth as the center of the universe, led to a revolution in thinking, to a new worldview. Today, I think we're faced with two equally radical visions of the human future. We have the corporate empire, or we have what they call in India, earth democracy. One leads to global self-destruction through this sort of escalating spiral of violence against life and the devastation of living systems. And the other one leads to a new human civilization grounded in deep democracy and in the love of life. Earth democracy stands at the intersection between sustainable agriculture, sustainable community, and sustainable economies. We are participants in the largest, most international, and potentially powerful social movement in human history, and yet it's not identified with a single individual leader. It's a mutually empowering movement in which every one of millions of participants is a leader in his or her own right. And we're only at the beginning. This conference is part of the beginning. This connection to conferences all over the United States and to the main conference in San Rafael, only the beginning. We are being called by the deep intelligence of creation to accept responsibility for the consequences of our presence on the planet. A responsibility not only for the well-being of one another, but for the planet as a whole.
Tell other people what's at stake. Don't allow the lies to continue. Take your government back. Thank you.
This conference has no precedent in our area. We're starting from scratch and seeing where we can go with it. So I'd like to thank you all, from the bottom of my young heart, for joining us here today. We have the potential to learn so much from each other. Keep your minds open, keep your ears open, keep your hearts open. How's that for a foundation for a better world? We'll see.
One step and then another, we're learning how to love each other. One step and then another, we're learning how to love teaching my heart to spread its wings, unfolding like teaching my fingers to play these strings, holding love, love, holding love, love. Well, it stretches and aches, and I learn from my mistakes, hopefully. Oh, and sometimes my heart, like a guitar string, breaks, and I wonder how long this healing will take. How long this healing will take. And sometimes it seems just too damn slow, but we crawl before we walk, you know. We crawl before we walk, you know. Here we go, one step. One step and then another. We're learning how to love each other. One step and then another. We're learning how to love each other. One step and then another. We're learning how to love and be loved. To love and be loved. To love and be loved. Love and be loved. Now it's true when they say you can't love someone else until you can truly love yourself. I'm still learning how to love myself. And it's true when they say you can't accept someone else until you can truly accept yourself. I pray that we all just get over it and learn to accept ourselves. And sometimes it seems just too damn slow, but we're crawl before we walk, you know. We crawl before we walk, you know. Sing it out loud, here we go. One step and then another.